Hi, my name is Orlando Duarte, and today I'll be talking to you about the NSPE Code of Ethics for Engineers. But more specifically, I'm going to be talking to you about Section 2.1.a through F, where I'm going to be giving a specific case example and showing you how this code applies to that example. So what is the NSPE? So NSPE stands for the National Society of Professional Engineers, and it started in 1946 with Canons of Ethics for Engineers. But then 18 years later, in 1964, they changed the name of their ethics to the NSPE Code of Ethics for Engineers, which we have been using ever since. So why study NSPE ethics? Well, it's important to understand. Understanding NSPE ethics will help you understand how engineers behave and the standards they hold for their profession. It'll also help you grow as an engineer and will help you avoid any costly mistakes from financially or excuse me, or legally. So I'm going to be talking about Section 2, Rules of Practice, and subsection number 1. Engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. I'm going to be talking to you, so in order to talk about this case, I'm going to be telling you about, in order to talk about this code, I'm going to talk to you about this case, BR case 764, which is about this company, let's call them Megacore. And they were told by the Pollution State Agency that they have to, they have to get a permit in order to continue releasing a materialistic waste into the river. And in order to do that, their waste has to meet a minimum requirement for safety. So Megacore hires an engineer. Let's call him John. And John is told to make a formal report of his findings about the waste. But in his findings, John finds that this waste doesn't meet the minimum requirements. So before he submits his report, John tells Megacore of his findings and tells them it's going to be very expensive to fix everything in order to meet the minimum requirements. So Megacore terminates John's contract with pay, but tells him not to tell anyone about his findings. But then John figures out later on that Megacore has some new data that supports the findings that their waste does meet the minimum requirements, putting John in an ethical bind. So in these next slides, I'm going to be talking to you about the subsections of this code. So for letter A, or for rule A, engineer's judgment is overruled under circumstances that endanger life or property. They shall notify. If engineer's judgment is overruled under circumstances that endanger life or property, they shall notify their employer or clients as such authority may be appropriate. So John did notify Megacore of his findings, but they dismissed it. So John has to tell someone else, another authority, of his findings because they contradict the new data that Megacore has met the minimum, that the waste that Megacore has does meet the minimum requirements. So that leads me to letter B. Engineer shall approve only those documents that are in conformity with applicable standards. So if Megacore were to ask John to submit or to approve of the new data, then John will have to deny approving it, because if he does, then he would be in direct contradiction with this rule. Engineer shall not reveal facts, data, or information without the prior consent of the client or employer, except as authorized by law or this code. So John, even though John was told by the Megacore that he shouldn't reveal any information from his findings from the report, he has he has to do it because it contradicts the new data, which in turn affects the health and safety of the public. It's his moral responsibility. Engineers shall not permit the use of their name or associate in business ventures with any person or firm they believe is engaged in fraudulent or dishonest enterprises. This one's straightforward. You shouldn't any engineer should know not to do this. Engineers shall not aid in abet or abet the unlawful practice of engineering. Again, common sense, but still, you shouldn't be doing anything that is against the law, especially if you're an engineer, because you put people's lives at risk. And engineers having knowledge of any alleged violation of this code shall report thereon the appropriate professional bodies when relevant. So Megacorp was in direct contradiction with this code. Thus, John has a moral responsibility to report them, even though it contradicts Megacorp itself. And if he doesn't do this, then he puts the health of the public at risk, thus making him in violation of this code. And in conclusion, I talked to you about the NSPE Code of Ethics and why it's important, because it helps you grow as an engineer. And I talked about sections II.1.a through F through the example case B, or case number 764. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.